Hey guys, my name is Derry and welcome back to EToH News. As you may know, Kemi is busy with a lot of exams, so he sadly won't be able to cover the news for March, April, and May of 2026, so I'll be helping out. And this month, we'll be covering all of the game news and community news for March 2026. Game news will cover updates within the game, such as new area releases, and community news will cover news in the community, such as new top towers. So let's begin with the first story of the month. On March 20th, an announcement from one of the EToH owners was released, saying that due to concerns surrounding copyright, they have decided to not allow any audio that violates it, applying to both in-game and submission towers. This was made because copyright has been an issue for a while, and since the owner doesn't wish this to keep going any longer, they will require permission from artists out of respect. As for what will happen with the in-game towers, the staff will soon begin to go through the entire game and try to contact the composers of the songs for their permission. If the artist does not want their song to be used, they will contact the tower's creator and allow them to choose a new song that fits this rule. But if a tower creator doesn't do so for any circumstance, the staff will replace the song themselves. If a creator in the future wishes to change the song after finding out about the announcement, the staff will allow them to do so. Furthermore, it is said that in the future, they will release a public list of music artists that have given the permission to use their songs in EToH, and later on, release a form that people may use to email artists asking for their permission for free use of their song, explaining all of the details they need to know about. Lastly, for the builders in the community, the owner understands that many are inspired by music and makes it clear that using the Roblox library is not mandatory. If the artist allows their music to be used, the builders are free to use it. After this, on March 22nd, another announcement was posted, which mentioned that because this decision impacts towers that are currently being developed, the submission deadline for Era 1 has been indefinitely delayed until further notice, with builders having at the very least a few more months before the deadline. After this, Jurassic Woodlands went from an approximate release date of August and September to an unknown status, being next to the final stretch, which got silently moved to this category the same day. This game-changing update made everyone in the community wonder what was going to happen, and many discussions and opinions came up, with a few saying this update was eventually going to happen, because if they didn't, the game would have been taken down, while others were completely disappointed and upset about the change. But these new copyright rules became a problem for tower builders in particular, with a few saying that they won't be replacing their tower songs with copyright-free material, others wanting to deconfirm upcoming towers, and even some no longer being built for EToH. This update was definitely needed, but it doesn't remove the fact that it's one of the hardest to swallow. The players have many memories and experiences with the game's music, and many of the tower's songs are well known in the community for how iconic they are. And as a creator, music is one of the most important aspects of tower building, being used to greatly represent atmospheres and even becoming the idea and aesthetic of entire projects. Okay, so this happened after I already recorded this part, but on March 24th, Chloe posted a video called Brand New ToMH Soundtrack, and yeah, it's just a joke. But there was a comment asking what was going to happen with the music sync in the tower and if Chloe was gonna revamp stuff. In response, Chloe mentioned that since the staff team won't allow him to pull his towers out of the game, he's just going to replace every soundtrack in his towers with a complete joke to make it as stupid as possible, saying that going out and searching for non-copyrighted music that will never come even close to matching his vision is a significantly worse option than making the music blatantly wrong, and maybe something funny could come out of this complete mess of an update. This confirms that this situation is very complicated and that copyright laws and artistic vision are constantly against each other, with both sides being theoretically right, so there's no definitive answer to this problem, and creators not being able to pull their towers from the game unless they are exposed for being a bad person has always left a bad taste in my mouth, but that's just my opinion and a whole other discussion on its own. Let's continue. As of right now, there is a work in progress unofficial spreadsheet that will be linked down in the description, which shows each song from every tower and categorizes them into 5, approved with explicit permissions / free use, could be okay, unclear, publisher okay but licensor questionable, copyrighted / declined use, and unknown. As of now, the artists and game developers who allow their music to be used are Creo, Windows 96, Home, Waterflame, DM Dokuro, Sewer Slot, Kevin MacLeod, Tanishi, Panda Eyes, Curse Snake, all Exobolt artists, Millie, Goki-san, 1101 Roblox Dude, C418, DJ Jenner, Noise Storm, Virtual Riot, Neil Ciceriga, Misemu, Miracle Musical, Let Me Know, and Heart Plus Up. If you wanna know the latest updates for the game music and wanna cry seeing all the copyrighted songs, I highly recommend checking this out, and shout out to everyone involved with this list. So yeah, this one is definitely a bombshell to begin with, but let's move on to the Easter event 2026. On March 11th, a teaser of an upcoming Easter event was released, which is an event that hasn't happened in 7 years, all the way back in 2019 with Bermuda Triangle. At the same time as this teaser was revealed, there was an announcement made, saying that it has been a yearly tradition for quite some time now that an April Fool's event with several new towers gets released. However, that was coming to a stop this year, and they likely will not do them anymore from now on. Eternalis continues by saying that instead of April Fools, there will be new Easter events since the staff wish to have more serious events throughout the year instead of just Christmas and Halloween. And even though the April Fool's events will be cancelled, they still hope to be able to release cosmetics for the occasion as something smaller. Most of the community seem to be excited about this announcement since Easter events were returning after such a long time of inactivity, but a few players were sad since April Fool's was their favorite event. And similar to the last story, but with much less panic, it created a bit of discussion and debate. There's really not much to mention about this update besides that though. We'll just have to wait for the release date and see how the Easter event turns out, which is really exciting after 7 years of this never happening. Thanksgiving needs to be next, bro. But anyway, let's move on to the newest EToH kit update. On March 18th, version 6.1.3 of the EToH kit was released, being the first 2026 update of the kit since December 15th of last year, with this one being described as a long overdue big bug fix update that fixes a bunch of stuff. And that stuff is everything you are currently seeing on screen. But it also improved some aspects of the kit, which I will quickly go over. The code of the boost was cleaned up, support for extra configurable variables in custom boost was added, support for twin time attribute on button activated objects was added, new values to e-point value in property changers, being viewport size, is key down, and preferred input were added, the button activated constraints were changed, and did not require attack to toggle rather than requiring attack to not toggle, curve mode configuration for ziplines was added, the controls for corner flips on mobile were reverted back to how they work in game, support for specifying a custom distance pivot and distance calling was added, and finally, manual advanced configuration to dialog ports was added. Besides this, a small update to the documentation site happened on March 20th, with the property changer page now having downloadable examples of things you can make with them. So yeah, that's all of the improvements. Let's move on to the newly planned Purgatorio updates. On March 2nd, the Eternal Towers of Hell development Trello silently added a Purgatorio updates board in the general section, with the description saying, now that Purgatorio has been out for a few months, we are relooking at the towers and making the changes necessary, mainly making them shorter. These planned changes depend on each tower, with the least being that Tower of Genesis requires minor changes, Tower of Motion Evolution will be kept untouched, Tower of Buttons requires shortening, Tower of Critical Damage may require minor changes, Tower of Boost Mayhem, Tower of Various Pressures, and Tower of Kinetic Potential all require shortening, Tower of No Strings Attached and Tower of Keys to Success are in an unknown state, and Tower Not Found and Tower of Dancing All Night will be kept untouched. As for Citadel of Victory, this one is actually kinda interesting. There have always been discussions about the difficulty of COV, with many in the community feeling that it was way too long and complicated as a beginner Citadel, which made the Citadel go from mid-hard all the way to peak hard, and even then, this was seen as an underrated position, being placed at low mid difficult in tower rating game. So for this one, Citadel of Victory didn't receive changes or require shortening, but it was planned to move to a different area entirely and be replaced by a different Citadel. But since many didn't believe this fit dash and tower works, it was later changed to say that it was moving to Paradise Atoll. and accompanied by this change, the in-game difficulty of COB rose to low mid difficult. Overall, these are some pretty decent updates to Purgatorio that will boost the enjoyment of multiple towers, especially since many of them just so happen to be the most criticized in the area. And seeing a replacement for Citadel of Victory will be really interesting as well, with Gamma saying that the replacement is supposed to be hard difficulty and he'll personally nerf it if it's still too hard. Hopefully everything about this update turns out well, because it could manage to encourage beginners a bit more to play the game. And that's all I got for this one. Let's move on to the minor updates of the month. Okay, so for this story, we're gonna start with the decently sized updates that were too small to get their own section. First of all, a revamp for Tower of Ultimately Terrifying was released on March 3rd. I honestly haven't played the original, so I don't really have an opinion on this, but it seems mostly positive, with people enjoying how true the revamp feels to the original ToUT, which is always good to see. Secondly, on March 5th, some 10 soul-crushing tower cosmetic rewards were finally added. Tower of Rain on My World has the aura Down the Drain, Tower of Tiki Time has the death effect Angelic Wrath, Tower of Blast Power has the aura Blast Off, Tower of Complexity and Volatility has the aura Astralis Rift, and Tower of Raging Tempest has the aura Burdened Serenade. So yeah, these cosmetics were pretty overdue for some 10, but it's finally out, so that's cool. This next one is not about the game itself, but it's still a kind of relevant update. On March 22nd, the infraction punishment for 2 warnings in the EToH Discord server was updated from a 1-day mute to a 3-day mute, so be extra careful with sending those worse than Epstein gifts. That concludes the decent sized updates, and now let's talk about the minor ones. The ziplines and speed booster displays in Tower of Sky Laboratories were fixed, the terrain for the Ring 9 level revamp was completed, a falling platform fix in Tower of Speeding Right Through was added to hopefully make the larger platforms less clunky to jump off of, with smaller ones still being intended to hold jump on. Another creator requested quality of life changes, fixes, and nerfs were added to the tower. 24 out of the 31 towers in the upcoming Time Lost area have been inserted and set up, with 2 others joining this on April 1st, but this is not the April news, so who cares. Tower of Dancing All Night has been lowered from mid-high to low mid-hard, Tower of No Strings Attached has been increased from high to high peak medium, Tower of Various Pressures has been increased from low to low mid-medium, Summit of Memories Tower Rush has been increased from bottom to bottom low insane, Tower of Ultimately Terrifying has been lowered from mid to low intense, and finally, Tower of Speeding Right Through has been lowered from mid to low mid insane. Okay, so while I was editing, the difficulty of Weight of the World has been changed to Pick Gingerbread, going from 0.99 to 0.90 in the difficulty chart, literally 2 fucking minutes before April, so yeah. And with that, we have reached the end of the game news, and now it's time for the community news. On February 28th, yes, we're talking about February and March, the second EToH Tower Jam was announced, and it goes as follows. The best overall prize will be given to the submissions that the judges deem to be the biggest standout of the jam, and the winner of this prize will receive 8,000 Robux, plus the prize for the category they win. The best category prize will be given to the submissions that do the best in each of the 3 Tower Jam prompts selected for this event, which I'll get to later. First place category winners will receive 8,000 Robux, second place category winners will receive 5,000 Robux, and third place category winners will receive 3,500 Robux. And lastly, the awards of Best Design, Creativity, and Gameplay are 3 distinct awards which will be given to submissions that the judges find to excel in these varying aspects of tower building, with each winner receiving 4,000 Robux. 9 days later, on March 7th, the prompts for the jam were revealed, being Remix, Deception, and Limits. In Remix, you make a tower that reimagines its source material and flips the script on its head. In Deception, you break your own rules and keep the player never expecting the twists you'll take in your tower. And in Limits, whether it's how you use the kit or how you limit the player, you'll define your tower by what you choose not to use. If you weren't aware of this tower jam and wanted to participate, you sadly cannot anymore, since the deadline was on April 1st at 2 PM CST. However, if you are interested in seeing all the submissions and being more involved with the competition, the link for the EToH Tower Jam Discord will be down in the description. So yeah, good luck to everyone who participated and submitted their towers. We'll be showing all of the winners on April's news, unless I take too long to edit this video and it comes out after the winner's been announced. Anyway, let's move on to the Top Towers community emote button change. On March 23rd, the Top Towers community announced that all list towers must have a place where there is an emote button so that all towers are possible, regardless of any regional chat ban or people not willing to verify their age. This means that they remain list and a verified tower that requires emotes to beat them, which does not have an emote button, will be removed from the list on the last day of April. And finally, the announcement provides an emote button file that can be inserted in the tower places. This change sounds good on paper, since it allows players who don't share their information with Roblox to play towers properly. However, it wasn't entirely well received considering the reactions the announcement had. And something that could have been said in this message is similar to what Eternals did with the copyright announcement. In this case, let builders add the emote button later so their towers can return to the list. But with multiple games already hosting many top towers, such as the Eternal Abyss, this change will most likely affect a small margin of towers. And still, I can see why people disagree with this. It would be pretty fucked up as a verifier if the tower builder left the community and never updated the place. But just like with EToH's copyright situation, we just have to wait and see which towers get purged from the list. Let's move on to the second victor of Tower of Monochromatic Haze. On March 3rd, Friendly Fart became the second victor, or the first if you don't count the verifier as a victor, of the current second hardest tower, Tower of Monochromatic Haze. In the description of his video, posted on March 22nd, he says that this is probably one of, if not the most unlucky overgrind to ever happen, with him progressing very quickly and reaching floor 10 within around 3 weeks, and only after his second floor 9 run. But thanks to college, he had little time to play. When he picked up the tower again in December 2025, he had tons of runs to floor 9, but extremely few back to floor 10. In the end, Friendly Fart had over 100 individual floor 9 runs and 12 floor 10 fails, including one within 10 jumps of beating the tower. At the end of the description, he mentions that he thinks this is harder than Stone, the current hardest tower, which is pretty interesting. Another impressive aspect of this completion is that Friendly Fart verified Tower of Generation Failure and Tower of Cruel Punishment all the way back in 2020 and 2021, so him beating something of this caliber and many other Unreal towers after more than half a decade is super impressive. Big congratulations to Friendly Fart for this incredible achievement. Now it's time for the last story of the month, the Top Towers Community Changelog. In the Top Towers Community Changelog, there has been much more activity this month compared to February, so let's run through it. Tower of Sense Surplus was verified and placed on number 16, marking the first horrific to go into the legacy list, Tower of TJ Wall, which is pretty insane and just shows how far the difficulty has been pushed. Tower of 22 was verified and placed on number 15, Tower of Atrocious Trust Catastrophe was verified and placed on number 33 on the controller list, Tower of Overwhelming Doom was verified and placed on number 32, Tower of Set Tight Tekina was quote-unquote verified because the old verifier is list banned and placed on number 56, Citadel of Cold-Blooded Fatality was verified and placed on number 8, Tower of Stardust Conflagration was verified and placed on number 25, Tower of Umbra Market was verified and placed on number 2 on the 60 FPS list, Tower of Ring Rank Rung Rung was verified and placed on number 19 on the controller list, Tower of the Corpse Desire was verified and placed on number 36, Tower of Seclusion was verified and placed on number 38 on the controller list, Tower of Bin Creo was verified and placed on number 61, Barely Even a Tower was moved from horrific to catastrophic difficulty at number 123, Tower of Blind Fate and Citadel of Infinite Void got swapped, with Tower of Blind Fate sitting above at number 7 and Citadel of Infinite Void at number 9, Tower of Monty Mole Mayhem was moved on from number 13 to number 8 on the controller list, and Tower of Climatic Inclination was verified and placed on number 57, marking the first SS tier tower on the list. This concludes all the changes made to the list and also the community news, so let's move on to the outro. Okay, so before I say anything, I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it a bit without the presence of Cami not being here. So yeah. Okay, so literally all I want to say is that if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to your channel and also subscribe to me if you actually like enjoy it or whatever, because we are both so damn close to 1,000 subscribers, bro. Like, we're literally edging that shit. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next EToH news. Goodbye.